Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, I've brought this case up a few times over the in the Lucy Letby and other murders we've done, but this is because I want to do a UK miscarriages of justice because there's a couple that are like active, you'd say, where the person's still in prison. This is one. I really don't think he done it. Um, and I think I've listened to his mum talk, but obviously his mum's going to take his side. But the the height of lie detector, he took a lie detector test, and so did his mum. And basically, his mum was arrested for covering it all up for him, but then she got found innocent and he got found guilty. It's like, well, how? How could you? Things like that in the case where you go, well, but yeah, I've heard the mum talk. I've heard the person who did his lie detector. Now, lie detectors can't be used in court and what have you, but um, still, if lie detectors was that bad, like it's a 90 something percent. And if it was like all the shows like Jerry Springer and Jeremy Kyle over here, that use lie detectors would be getting sued left, right, and centre if they didn't work. But yeah, he's the highest level. He did it, and he says Luke Mitchell didn't do it. But also, you've got one of the biggest miscarriages of justice of all time in the UK, Joe Steele. Um, he went to prison for all his life for something he didn't do and got let out, and that they admitted that they got it all wrong. He says Luke Mitchell didn't do it, but also other prisoners. Luke Mitchell has never gone on protection. Now he's going to be targeted. A young boy, they paint him out to be a Marilyn Manson freak, um, all that type of dark, satanic. Um, See, you know the prisoners ain't gonna like that, and it's such a well. It was a big case in Scotland, and definitely they ain't gonna like that in Scotland. Like, but yeah, he Luke Mitchell, like prisoners. Even one prisoner I saw said that he actually spat in his face. He's being walked. Luke Mitchell was being moved by guards, and he said, and I spat at him. He said, and I regret that to this day. He said, because I don't think that boy did it. He's like he's never gone on protection. He's took it on the chin, his prison sentence. And the reason he's still in prison is one, because he hasn't admitted it. He's like, he has not done it. And also, to get out of prison, there's courses that you have to do, um, which will help you. Do you know what I mean? Like, they'll let you out if you pass these courses, and they're like basic maths and English, or like some type of career thing, or whatever, different courses that you can take to help you get out. And Luke Mitchell hasn't done that because he's like, and his mum said, why don't you just do it? Like, to just get out. And he's like, nah. I think his mum even said to him, why don't you just admit it? Because you know they want you. Well, not, she doesn't think he done it, but why don't you just say you did it in order then they'll let you out? Just do their courses. And she said, Luke's like, nah, I don't need rehabilitation. I didn't do this. I'm not doing their courses. I'm never going to admit it. And I didn't do it. So, and over time, that's what I mean. Over time, he doesn't get grief in prison, and he's not on protection. A lot of people would have put themselves on protection. I would definitely would have if I'd gone to prison for that crime. I'm not taking all that abuse off them. He did. And over the time, the prisoners leave him alone because even the prisoners say he didn't do it. But there's like the four James English. Just put James English, Luke Mitchell case. There's four parts, and one's his mum, one's a detective, one's the. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, but that being said, I've seen people that are on Luke Mitchell's side. So I really have had one side of the thing because I do think he appealed recently and it got denied. I don't know whether it got not like rejected or um yeah, they just denied his appeal. Um, but yeah, I haven't actually seen the evidence for. I don't even think there is much evidence. other than that he's a Marilyn Manson freak, which he wasn't. Seems about it. It's that Marilyn Manson, that he was copying the Marilyn Manson murders that happened in America. But anyway, yeah, let's see what this has to say. Let's go.
It was late at night, it was dark, it was in the woods. I was shining the torch ahead of me and I saw something light and white. And as I got closer, I realised that it was Jodi. And she was dead.
It's being described by police as one of the most violent murders in a generation.
This would have been a bloodbath.
14-year-old schoolgirl killed in broad daylight. Jodi Jones had everything to live for, but her life was cut cruelly short when she was brutally attacked.
She'd put up an enormous fight.
There was evidence of a struggle. The area was heavily blood-stained.
She was virtually decapitated.
This was probably the most shocking and horrific murder in Scottish criminal history.
And this is the thing, not to start pointing fingers at people, but there's a lot of evidence that it was her stepbrother, or because he had actually, because they said the viciousness of this crime was a real personal, it was a savage murder, which, yeah, happens. That's a personal thing to do, what happened to her. And I think it's her stepbrother that he'd been arrested for attacking her loads of times and whatever, but he was never ever brought in and never ever was a suspect. It's crazy. They really wanted it to be Luke Mitchell, but yeah, let's carry on.
Children being accused of horrendous crimes tends to attract a massive amount of outrage.
He was a Satan-worshipping, scary Gothic character.
This is a little village and we've got a devil worshipper. You can just imagine the fear.
Mitchell was convicted and jailed for a minimum of 20 years.
Mrs. Jones, are you happy that justice has been served today?
Her family seems so dodgy. So dodgy. Honestly, I can't recommend the James English podcast more. James English, Luke Mitchell. Get on it.
I've been locked up for a crime I did not commit. I can't be more clear. I absolutely did not kill Jodi.
That's the other thing as well. There's been, like I say, Joe Steele, Kevin Lane, Warren Slate. There's a lot of bad miscarriages of justice, but this boy got arrested when I think he was 15. He's been in prison since he was 15. He's in his 30s now. Like, his whole life he's been in prison for something that he didn't do.
Dalkeith's the biggest town in this area. Originally a market town, about 8 miles from Edinburgh. In a sort of semicircle, there's maybe half a dozen little interlinked villages. Some of them were mining villages, some of them grew up out the market town of Dalkeith. Nothing ever really happens here. It's an ordinary place with ordinary people.
Teenagers Jodi Jones and Luke Mitchell lived in the neighbouring villages of East Houses and New Battle. They had been dating for 5 months.
I met her a few times, not a lot, but I met her a few times. Typical 14-year-old, shy but not to the awkward stage and not cocky, just a lovely, well-mannered wee girl.
30th of June 2003. Jodi and Luke arranged to meet as usual after dinner.
A very, very ordinary Monday. Couldn't have been more ordinary. But as it turned out, it wasn't, was it?
Jodi doesn't arrive to meet Luke, and just after 10 p.m, her family realise she hasn't been seen since 5 o'clock. A search party is arranged to find her.
Luke came to me in a bit of a state saying, Jodi's missing. And he borrowed the torch and off they went.
Luke meets Jodi's family at the top of Rowansdyke Path, a woodland shortcut connecting both their homes.
Waiting for him at the top of the path were Judy's sister Janine, our gran Alice, and Janine's boyfriend Stephen Kelly. So they all set off down the path, and they're just past this break in the wall, and Luke goes over the wall and he calls out, I think there's something here. The sister's boyfriend Stephen Kelly then goes over the wall, and the granny, well, she wants to see for herself what's there. And she started screaming. Jodi had been beaten. Her hair had been pulled out by the roots. She'd been strangled. Her throat was cut between 12 and 20 times. She was virtually decapitated.
Jodi Jones was found hidden in woodland on the other side of a wall running alongside a path. Tonight there is a very real, deep sense of shock that a crime like this has happened here.
From the minute the news of the murder broke on the morning of July 1st, the hysteria, the relentless media coverage, the fear, the fact that something like that could happen in this area.
Detectives have warned Dalkeith teenagers starting the summer break to be on their guard.
There was a maniac roaming among us.
Police have staged a reconstruction of the last known movements of murdered teenager Jodi Jones.
Tonight, motorists were being asked if they were here a week ago.
Jodi's clothes are undergoing forensic examination.
I got a call from a police officer. They wouldn't tell me what had happened, just that they were taking Luke and Mia, our dog, to the police station, and could I meet them there? Then we were questioned about that night, and they tape your conversations, and my tape was marked witness, and I noticed that Luke's tape was marked suspect.
It appeared that Luke Mitchell was now prime suspect. Police believed he had led the search party to Jodi's body, a location only her killer could have known.
I'm sure they're going to go into it. But his dog was a German Shepherd, but also it was training. It's like the backstory to it is like the dog naturally had a natural sniffing ability, and some matey when Luke was walking it was like, you should train. And I think he was an ex-police trainer and was training that dog. But also a dog's going to know anyway. A dog's going to know something's there. But yeah.
It seemed 14-year-old Luke Mitchell had become the prime suspect in his girlfriend's murder. A police search of his house revealed more about his character.
Mitchell had really highly peculiar habits at home. He was storing up jars of urine in his room. He was a dope-smoking, kind of feral youth, scary gothic character.
They found satanic slogans on his school jotters.
To be fair, he doesn't look... he looks more like a grunger than a goth. Like, yeah.
And one of the things that made this case seem really scary, really terrifying, was this emphasis that Luke Mitchell was a devil worshipper, that he was into the occult. And he was obsessed by the Black Dahlia murders.
Jodi's injuries were said to have some similarity to those of a murder victim known as the Black Dahlia, a young woman who had been mutilated in a ritualistic killing.
The Black Dahlia case was the killing of a young woman called Elizabeth Short in Los Angeles in 1947. She was found horribly mutilated. She'd been severed in two, so the legs and the torso had been separated. Was Mitchell inspired by the Black Dahlia?
The case against Luke Mitchell was building. The police were closing in, and the press began to name him as the main suspect.
This stuff was being gobbled up insatiably in broadsheets as well as tabloids. It's got a kind of horror movie element to it. You know, this is about a young girl who's 14 who's found brutally murdered. Add in that, all that crazy stuff around devil worship and drugs, and you have a really kind of toxic brew that people couldn't get enough of.
The press just ran amok. They were virtually camped outside our door with their sandwiches and flasks, flinging themselves on my car when my car left the driveway just to get a close-up of Luke.
There was the story which became enormous of Luke Mitchell being asked not to attend the funeral of
He actually looks like the older brother in Goonies there.
Jones.
We weren't allowed to go to Jodi's funeral, and I asked why, and they said because the family were frightened that we would turn it into a circus.
On the day that the funeral happened, he decided to sit down with Sky News and do an interview.
Sky came to my door and I told them, yes, we were having a vigil for Jodi. So they asked if they could come in and to witness that. I thought, what harm can it do? In fact, I thought it would do better because there was whisper of, say, Luke not caring a jot, and he was unemotional, and he was this, that, and the other. And I thought, well, at least if we show them this, then at least they know we are thinking about her, and we do have emotions and whatnot. So I let them in, and basically that horrible little man started almost interviewing Luke.
What would you say to those who would look at you and think he killed his girlfriend?
I just say they're being naive, not to believe everything you read in the papers. It's trial by media.
The interview itself had a rather unpleasant sort of vibe to it.
The police and accusations and things I couldn't care about. It was just want to find out what happened and who did it.
It felt strange.
That's the other thing as well. Is You know the injury she had, but no one knows actually what happened to her in that last moment, because he's always said he's not guilty, and obviously whoever is has never come forward for it. So you don't, the horrendous injury she had, you've got no idea. But hold on 2 seconds. Up to 25. But yeah, he doesn't actually seem that, because I've watched things on this, but I've never actually heard him talk. He doesn't seem creepy guy, weird, like, yeah, it doesn't seem like that. But you see where I said like the Lucy Letby is similar to the Lucy Letby thing, where it was things like him writing devil stuff on his book, what got him convicted, not actually evidence.
To watch, there was judgments made about the relationship between Mitchell and his mother. It added to the creepiness and the disturbing nature of the story.
The headlines the day after that. The screeching headlines. How?
Because it's what Peter Hitchens said with Lucy Letby, that sometimes a crime is so bad that it clouds people's thoughts. Like, yeah.
Would you?
Yeah, the public turned against us with that one.
A 15-year-old boy has been remanded in custody after appearing in court charged with the murder of Jodi Jones.
Luke Mitchell was finally arrested on the 14th of April 2004, 10 months after Jodi's murder.
At around 7:30, the police arrested the youth at his home and brought him back here to the station.
His alibi that he was at home cooking dinner was rejected, and his mother and older brother were arrested.
We understand that she's going to be charged with attempting to pervert the course of justice in connection with this case.
The final plank in the police case against Luke Mitchell was that his mother gave a false alibi to protect him.
That's what it was. Yeah, that's it. That's what she got. But it got dropped that she gave him a false alibi, but he still got found guilty. If you admit that she didn't give him a false alibi, that means that her alibi is true. Otherwise, she'll be in prison as well. But you dropped it on her, but put him in prison. "17 years.
Innocent or guilt, there's something wrong with this conviction.
We have a 14-year-old boy, and despite extensive investigation, there is no forensic evidence to link him to the crime.
The evidence is insufficient to say beyond a reasonable doubt that this was Luke Mitchell that committed this murder.
We're going to find somebody guilty. It has to be on the basis of solid evidence beyond reasonable doubt. That hasn't happened in Luke's case.
We're talking about a person's life, and you need science to put someone in jail.
I've not spoken out in all this time because every time I've tried to speak out, I've been shouted down and just been called evil and manipulative and twisted. Can't be more clear. I absolutely did not kill Jodi, and I've been locked up for a crime I did not commit. I will not admit to something I've not done. I want to clear my name.
My name's John Salins. I'm 27 years a police officer. Most of my time as a detective. I've worked in many high-profile inquiries, murders, terrorism, serious and organised crime. Spent most of my time in the CID.
My name is Michael Neal. Started off as a uniformed officer in the north of Glasgow. Trained as a firearms officer during that time. Then moved into the CID arena. Spent the majority of my career after that as a detective. John and I now run our own private investigation company.
With a combined 50 years' experience, the former detectives have agreed, for the purposes of this documentary, to re-examine the case against Luke Mitchell.
The difficulty of being asked to reinvestigate a case that's 17 years old, and in this case especially where someone's been convicted of that murder and been in prison, I suppose the biggest difficulty for John and I will be to keep an open mind.
It may well be the case that we think Luke Mitchell is guilty, but we don't know until both of us have investigated it.
We'll start right at the beginning. What do we know? The basics, what do we know about this case?
Luke Mitchell was found guilty by majority verdict.
14-year-old at the time of the murder, 16-year-old at the time of the trial, okay? Sentenced to life with a minimum of 20 years.
We're doing things retrospectively now, without the full knowledge of what the investigation team carried out. We're just trying to conduct this investigation based on our own experience and things that we would have done at the time.
What have we got forensically to tie
There's
into it?
absolutely nothing forensically. It's a circumstantial case. You would think, considering the brutality of that murder, there would have been something forensically.
Yeah.
Luke has maintained his innocence. He had the opportunity to say that he was guilty of this, and it would have made a difference to his length of sentence, but he's adamant that he hasn't committed this murder.
Right, okay. Right, so...
Yeah, and like I say, other Joe Steele, and it's like people won't admit to something they didn't do. And also you get that prison guard say that the inmates that are the most trouble are ones people think are innocent of it. But it does say a lot that Luke Mitchell, all the prisoners kind of leave him alone. He's not attacked, and because they don't think he did it. Like, that says a lot. That says a lot. But yeah.
Why don't we go through there and visit the crime scene?
I will certainly go out and get a feel for it.
We'll do that.
It's a lovely place as well, isn't it? Nice wee quiet town.
I think we're far away now. That's it there, that path there.
So it is, yeah.
Let's go. So it's just a straight track up here, right?
I was a crime scene manager for about 5 years. You've got to think like the suspect.
What can I take from this that's going to help me find out who has committed this crime? If you can retrieve evidence from the actual scene of the crime, linking the accused to the crime, it doesn't get any better than that. Is that it? That is.
That's crazy.
Right.
Place.
We'll just try to establish exactly where the body was found.
It's hard to see him. You're talking 17 years ago for this bit.
This bit here. See it? That kind of lay down, you could have put me into the position. Right. Hands behind my back.
Jodi had injuries to her throat area. Her throat was cut. She'd suffered slash marks from the right-hand side of her mouth towards her ear, halfway towards her ear. There was incised wounds to her forearms, her breast, her eyelids, her abdomen area. Her hands had been tied behind her back using her own trousers. We're painting a picture here, and it sounds gruesome, but trust me, it's horrendous. The injuries Jodi received, absolutely horrendous. I'll get you up just a bit.
This would have been a bloodbath. The person that
the thing as well, because there's some things I'm guessing, because this is a two-parter, but I wonder if they're going to look at the because there's a lot of, like, a condom was found, a used condom was found, like, up along the path from that body, and the person who it was, like, the police was just happy to say, oh, he went there and had the, basically went and knocked one out into a condom. Why would you do that? But because he's got no privacy at home, he would go there. And the police accepted that, despite the fact that there was a murdered body down the thing. You didn't think that, yeah.
This brutal murder would have definitely had blood on him, and some defensive injuries. And Jodi put up a fight, so there was every likelihood he'd scratches and bruises.
Given the amount of blood that was generated, I would say that there should be a reasonable chance, a reasonable expectation of finding some kind of evidence being transferred from the victim to the assailant.
Forensic teams removed more than 100 items of evidence from the murder scene, including hair, saliva, semen, and blood.
People assumed that there must have been masses of DNA that linked Luke to the case, identified Luke as the killer. It comes as a bit of a shock to most people to realise there was no DNA whatsoever to link Luke to the murder scene, or to link Jodi to Luke. So, nothing.
You find nothing in such a brutal crime scene as this. Bearing in mind that Luke Mitchell's fingernails were scraped and they had dirt in them. If he'd washed, that wouldn't have been the case.
We're talking about a mutilation. I mean, it's horrific, absolutely horrific what's taking place. So to get out of here, get home, destroy everything, every single piece of DNA evidence that could possibly be on your body, I find it unbelievable.
There was DNA, male DNA, at the scene and on the body, but it wasn't Luke's.
Yeah, see? This is the thing, I'm sure they're going to go into the fact that it's whoever that other person was. Was it a sister's boyfriend, as they say, or whatever that other guy was? But he was like, whatever you call it, schizophrenic or whatever. He had some severe mental thing where he has attacked people, blah. And that's what I think it was the mum, James English asked. Or the mum brings it up herself. She says, well, people say, well, since Luke Mitchell has been in prison, no one else has died. If there was a killer out there, then how comes there's been no more murders? And the mum's like, because he's actually taken his medication, which you think you definitely would. If you killed your girlfriend's sister or whoever that guy is. I don't know if that's the DNA, no. I can't remember if that's the DNA, but the mum said, yeah. Like, basically all the evidence points to the other person, which is so weird that they... Anyway.
Forensics found DNA on a bloodstain on Jodi's t-shirt. DNA from Stephen Kelly, Jodi's sister's boyfriend.
That implicates Stephen Kelly more than it implicates Luke Mitchell, because there was nothing found from Luke Mitchell.
This was the only full DNA profile they had from Jodi's body or her clothing. You would have thought they'd have gone straight to his door and gone, you have some explaining to do. Why didn't they do that?
The explanation given by the prosecution in court for Kelly's DNA was that Jodi had borrowed her sister Janine's t-shirt that night. A wider search of the area around Jodi's body revealed Stephen Kelly's DNA wasn't the only male profile found.
Alright, we'll stop there then, seeing as it stopped on a kind of break. But yeah. I'm glad that they're going into all this, because I thought it was going to be... But that's the thing. Like that detective said when he sat down, right, what evidence do we have? There's no evidence. There's no evidence other than the fact that he's a Marilyn Manson fanatic, which he's not. And he wrote devil worshipping stuff on his book. Which actually, when it said the 666, I was thinking in that, underneath it said, eat your meat. Which I was thinking, that's a Pink Floyd. That's a Pink Floyd line, the if you don't eat your meat. And it's Scottish voice, I think. But yeah, that's what I thought with that. Like, it could just be lyrics of different songs, because I clocked that under the 666 sign he'd wrote on his book. It said, eat your meat. And that's, yeah, Pink Floyd. It's in Pink Floyd. But yeah, other than that, it doesn't seem that there's anything linking him. And I was thinking then, even him going over the wall with his dog, them footprints would be able to be accounted for if he walked in and out. Because I don't actually think, well, he obviously didn't because there's no DNA, but he didn't actually go over and look at the body, I don't think. And you got to think as well, for a 14-year-old kid to be the first to find that body, and by all accounts, the family that was there too, her family that was there also, wanted to send Luke back over. And Luke said, nah. Like, you got to think, I don't think he actually went, I think he saw the bundle and saw it was, and then kind of just bailed on it. Was like, and you think he's a 14-year-old kid, you're going to go and see your girlfriend, whatever's happened to her, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. That's the other thing as well. He doesn't seem to be gothic or Marilyn Manson. He's like, it's like he's got Nirvana tops, he's got the baggy jeans and like baggy clothes. It seems he's more like grunge, and grunge isn't death metal, or like Marilyn Manson's not grunge. But yeah, anyway, we'll carry on. But yeah, that's the reactions.